Welcome. This is Azure Windwalker at the Amethyst Center in Bedford County, Virginia. And today we're going to be talking about muscle testing or kinesiology. So these days there's a lot of disinformation and misinformation around, and people need to learn how to use their intuition very simply to find the truth. Whether it be a deal you're trying to get from a used car salesman, or what a politician says, or what a friend that may not really be a friend is telling you, there's a very simple way to learn how to judge the perception of truth and the degree of truth. So let me show you very simply what we're going to do. Okay, so we get our little finger and our thumb in a circle, and then this hand you make it into a vise. So what you want to do is prise this circle open with this vise. So you're trying to push it open like that. So let's ask a question. Okay, is learning how to do muscle testing or kinesiology good for you? And I'm going to try my hardest to open it up, and it stays strong. The circle stays strong. So it's complete. Okay, so is wandering around in the darkness, not being able to tell what is useful, what is truthful, what is beneficial, good for you? No. And I was able to separate it. And I'm not really influencing this. Once again, let me show you. There's the circle. Here's the vise. You're trying to open up the circle like that. So let me tell you a little bit about why this works. We are connected and interconnected with all that is. We are part of a collective consciousness. And our energy field, our aura, and the energy in our whole body reacts when we are strong and when we are weak, and when there is truth and when there is untruth. People have been using muscle testing for many, many years to test out which vitamins are good for them and how many vitamins to take. I've kind of moved it on into an asset to intuitive work, because people during shamanic journeys perhaps would get a bird totem, and it might be an eagle or it might be a hawk, and they can't tell the difference. And so we muscle test and say, okay, so for Azure, is her totem an eagle? Yes. Is it a hawk? No. And so we started using it that way. That was the beginning of using muscle testing intuitively. Because our energy is interconnected with all that is, and with the people that we touch energetically, our body reacts. So there's such a thing, and I'll show it to you next time, as a aura photograph. I've had my aura photograph done, and some of my clients have had their aura photograph done before and after I've worked on them, and their aura is significantly bigger because they access a lot of energy. So what happens is that when something is good for you, or the answer is yes, your aura is very big and it's very strong. But when something is bad for you energetically, then your aura shrinks in till it's right up next to your body. And the interesting thing about Kirlian photography is you can actually see a picture of it. Like, how cool is that? When I first learned about applied kinesiology, which is muscle testing, a fellow that was a teacher of it came to Unity of Nashville, where I used to live, And he lined up 15 people, like in a line, and they were all touching each other. And the person at the end had a blindfold. And so he muscle tested the person at the other end who wasn't holding the different test samples. So the energy ran through the whole line of people. So he gave the person on this side an almond, and the person all the way at the end of the line tested strong. Then he gave the person at the end a packet of sugar, and the energy went through all the line, and the person at this end tested weak, because sugar is not good for you. It weakens your body, which is one reason why we get sick in the wintertime, because we're eating all those sweets. Yeah, that makes sense. So that was my introduction to it. And I just said, well, that's pretty cool. How can I use that? And at the time I was in sales of advertising, and did very well with it. And I used my intuition to understand which client to go to and help them with their advertising campaigns. And sometimes I would even use the muscle testing to find out whether this line of thought or that line of thought would be the most beneficial to the client. So I would just say, okay, client A, B, and C would comparing apples and oranges in their ad campaign be beneficial, be a good idea? Yeah, and I got strong. So that's how we did the ad campaign, and it ran for years and was on billboards and won awards because I picked up that voice idea from the woman who owned the business. It was a personnel business. She says, well, my company compared to the other companies is like comparing apples and oranges. So we just translated that into a visual. But I used muscle testing to tell me that that was a good idea. And so one of the things that you can do is just kind of put your energy like a big bubble, which is what empaths do, around the situation or around the person, and you can even muscle test somebody else. Of course, it's good to get their permission, but if it's in a situation where it involves you and it's part of a group thing, then I can test not just me, but I can test for other people, or I can test for a group. And I use that when I'm doing workshops, the practical shamanism workshops, and the nature spirit energy workshops, when everybody's sitting around in a circle and we're working on certain situations or shamanic journeys. I just kind of put my bubble around the group and feel their energy, and I'll muscle test for everybody. Okay, so is everybody in the group ready to move to the next step? And so I'll get yes. So if you're creative, there's a lot of really cool ways that you can use this. So now let's all make your little circle, finger and thumb, and usually you use your non-dominant hand, which is not the hand that you write with, to make your little circle. And you use your dominant hand for trying to prise the circle open. So ask a question that you know, like, my name is so-and-so and so-and-so. Okay, so you get yes. Okay, so then say your name is somebody that you're not. Like, your name is Jane Doe. And it opens. So you can tell the difference. Okay, so now ask a question that you don't know the answer to. What would be a good idea? Well, just think of one. And you don't have to say it out loud. You can just think it. Okay. So the answer to the question, is it a yes, which the circle stays together and strong, or is it a no? Easy. Educational kinesiology, or in our case when we use it for intuitive kinesiology or muscle testing. There's another way that you can do muscle testing that is much more subtle, and you can do this in a group of people, or you can do this when you're in a situation where you're talking to somebody and you need to test the validity of what they're saying. And it's like this. It's the smallest violin in the world. Remember that? Okay. So, because your aura grows really big when something's good for you, there's a difference between yes and no when you do the muscle testing. So now think about something really happy. Just close your eyes. Think of a time when you were walking out in the woods and you see like maybe a deer and there's butterflies and flowers and it's a very happy time. And then just feel your fingers. How does it feel? It's very smooth, isn't it? Okay, so now think about something unhappy, like paying taxes. That's always a good one. And do that. Oh, wow. Feel the difference? This is rough and kind of sticky. So what it is that when you're doing the happy or the yes, you're actually floating off your energy field. Your big aura, you're floating off the energy, and you don't feel the ridges on your fingers. And this is explained in our photograph. But when it's a no, when it's not good for you, you feel the ridges on your fingers and it kind of feels like it's sticky. It kind of feels like a little bit of like sandpaper or something. And so you can be talking to somebody and just sit there and go like that. They might think you have a little nervous twitch or something, but whatever, you can still tell whether that's truth or not truth. And nobody knows the difference. It's not as obvious as doing this, or as obvious, there's a way that I do it, which is like this, that not very many people can do, but this works. So, idea. In public relations, or in politics and spin doctoring, pardon my French here, but there's a thing called making a shit sandwich, which is you put truth at the beginning, and then you put a lie in the middle and a truth or a half-truth at the end. So people buy in to the BS. What you have to do if you want to discover whether some of the disinformation campaigns that are out there are truthful or not about any topic is look at the way the communication is made and divide the beginning part, because people will always present an idea in the beginning, and then you have to test the middle, and then you have to test the end, and you'll see if there's truth all the way through, then it's true. If it's truth here but it's not truth here and it's not truth there, then don't believe it. I know that because I moved to Nashville to be the press secretary of a fellow who was running for state senate. And they brought in one of the hotshot spin doctors to teach us how to do attack campaigns, which has been all over the place. And there's a certain science to it. They taught us how to do it. I'm not very proud of it, but I did it very well. Ended up winning some kind of award for the campaign, even though my fellow who I was helping run, doing his marketing and advertising, didn't get all the votes he needed, but almost got there. But at any rate, I won an award because I learned how to do it very well. So I know the background of what's going on and the disinformation campaigns these days. And I thought it very important for your own use, for your own health, to muscle test vitamins and supplements, to muscle test situations that you're in, job possibilities, whatever, to have something practical. That's why this is called practical shamanism, to have something practical that you can use to increase your wellness and have a happier, more sustainable life. One idea that you can also use is to write a list of possibilities. If you're presented with several different possibilities for a job or for any kind of situation, make a list and then go through the list with 10 being the best for you and 0 being the least best for you. And you can muscle test. Okay, so is doing these instructional, inspiring videos for people good for them? Okay, is it a 1? Is it a 2? Is it a 3? Is it a 4? Is it a 5? Is it a 6? Is it a 7? Is it an 8? Is it a 9? Is it a 10? Okay, so it's 9. 8 or above is a keeper. And so you can go through a list, and if you've got several different things and options to choose from, you can see which numbers are the highest and thereby make your choices for the best way to expend your energy and your time. And I'd like to get feedback, and you can respond to me on Facebook or here on YouTube, and make a comment. And I would love to know how you use this, your intuition and your creativity. Let that be your guide, and let you go on and walk in balance, because you've got some really good tools for your shaman's toolbox. So we say, walk in balance. Ho!